Good evening. Tonight we bring you a story that's making headlines not just in the United States but around the world. A story that could change the way you think about your paycheck, your shopping cart, and even your job security. We're examining a landmark Supreme Court decision that's set to impact your wallet, your job, and the global economy in ways both immediate and long-lasting. This isn't just a legal ruling, it's a turning point that will ripple through every corner of our interconnected world. The court has struck down the Trump-era tariffs, a move that's already sending shockwaves from American factories to Asian ports and even to the trading floors of Europe and beyond. The decision is reshaping how goods move, how businesses plan, and how countries negotiate. For years, these tariffs divided the nation. Supporters argued they protected American jobs and industries from foreign competition, while critics insisted they raised prices for consumers and made it harder for businesses to compete globally. The debate has been fierce, with passionate voices on both sides. Now the Supreme Court has forced a national reckoning on trade, presidential power, and America's economic future. The decision is prompting lawmakers, business leaders, and everyday Americans to reconsider what fair trade and economic security really mean. The ruling challenges the executive branch's authority and reasserts Congress's role in trade policy. It's a reminder that the balance of power in Washington is always evolving, and that the Constitution remains at the heart of these debates. Did the president overstep constitutional bounds? The justices have answered, and their decision will reshape Washington's balance of power for years to come. The implications reach far beyond politics. They touch every American household and business. This marks the end of one economic era and the uncertain start of another. As factories adjust, markets react, and workers wonder what comes next, the nation stands at a crossroads. Tonight, we'll break down what this means for you, hear from those most affected, and analyze the political and global fallout. We'll talk to business owners, economists, and everyday Americans to understand the real-world impact. Understanding this ruling is key to understanding the economic forces shaping your world. Whether you're a worker, a business owner, or a consumer, the effects will be felt in your daily life. Stay with us as we unpack the journey to this historic decision, explore its far-reaching consequences, and help you navigate what comes next. The story begins now. To fully grasp the impact of today's ruling, it's essential to first clarify what a tariff is and why it matters in the global economy. Simply put, a tariff is a tax imposed on imported goods, designed to make these goods more expensive compared to domestic products. By making foreign products more costly, tariffs encourage consumers to purchase American-made goods, thereby supporting local industries and jobs. In 2018, the Trump administration imposed sweeping tariffs, targeting what it described as unfair trade practices by countries like China, aiming to level the playing field. Supporters of these tariffs viewed them as a necessary measure to revive American manufacturing and protect jobs. However, critics argued they ultimately hurt consumers and businesses that rely on global supply chains. Overnight, billions of dollars in goods, from essential materials like steel to everyday electronics, saw price hikes affecting both businesses and consumers. The administration invoked a rarely used law, citing national security concerns to justify the tariffs, effectively bypassing Congress and sparking controversy. This legal maneuver became the focal point of a significant court battle, challenging the limits of executive power. While some industries, such as steel, saw benefits from the tariffs, gaining a competitive edge, many manufacturers and farmers faced higher costs and retaliatory tariffs from other countries, leading to financial strain. Consumers too felt the pinch, as prices on everyday items rose, impacting household budgets across the nation. The nation found itself divided. Was this a necessary fight for economic sovereignty, or a self-inflicted wound on the economy? This question set the stage for a dramatic legal showdown, as the courts were called upon to decide the future of these controversial tariffs. The legal fight against the tariffs began in lower courts, led by businesses and importers claiming financial harm. Their core argument: only Congress can regulate foreign commerce and impose tariffs, not the president. The administration argued the law gave the president broad discretion for national security. Plaintiffs countered that the national security justification was a pretext to sidestep Congress. The Supreme Court took up the case, consolidating several lawsuits into a single high-stakes hearing. The business world and foreign governments watched closely. The justices grilled both sides, probing the limits of presidential power and the intent of Congress. Could a president declare any import a security threat? The skepticism was clear. The nation waited for a verdict that would define the rules of global trade and the separation of powers. The stakes, presidential authority versus congressional oversight. The outcome would set a precedent for generations. The Supreme Court ruled 6-3 that the administration overstepped its authority. The decision focused on the misuse of the national security provision in the 1962 Trade Expansion Act. The majority opinion reaffirmed that Congress, not the president, controls tariffs and trade taxes. The ruling dismantles the legal foundation of the Trump-era tariffs. Dissenting justices warned this could weaken the president's ability to respond to global threats. Immediately, the government must stop collecting these tariffs and begin unwinding years of collections. Businesses now wonder, will they get refunds? The court left that question open, hinting at more legal battles ahead. The verdict redefines the boundaries of economic power in Washington. This Supreme Court decision will be felt in everyday life, reaching far beyond the headlines and into the routines of millions of Americans. Whether you're shopping for groceries, commuting to work, or planning your family's budget, the effects of this ruling will touch you in ways both big and small. The most immediate impact is likely to be seen in the prices of imported goods, everything from the latest smartphones and laptops to the clothes you wear and the appliances in your kitchen. As tariffs are rolled back, retailers and online stores may begin to lower prices, making everyday purchases a little more affordable for everyone. Previously, tariffs raised costs for companies, who then passed those extra expenses on to consumers. Now, with those barriers coming down, prices should gradually fall, giving families some relief at the checkout counter and helping small businesses stay competitive. American manufacturers will also benefit from lower production costs as imported materials and components become cheaper. This could help ease inflationary pressures, making it less expensive to produce goods here at home and potentially stabilizing prices across the board. Of course, not every industry will benefit equally. Some jobs in protected sectors like steel and aluminum may face new challenges as competition increases. However, many more jobs in manufacturing, agriculture, and related fields could see new opportunities and growth as exports become more competitive and costs decline. The ruling brings hope for job growth in sectors that were previously hurt by tariffs, and could encourage companies to hire, invest, and expand their operations, especially in communities that have struggled in recent years. Politically, the response is sharply divided. Some call it a betrayal of workers in traditional industries, while others hail it as a victory for consumers, small businesses, and the authority of Congress to set trade policy. The debate is passionate and ongoing. The decision will shape the next election, forcing candidates to clarify their stance on trade, tariffs, and presidential power. Voters will be watching closely to see who supports policies that benefit their wallets and their jobs. For families, the effects will show up at the cash register, in the job market, and in the choices they make about spending and saving. Whether you're looking for work, managing a household, or running a small business, these changes will be felt in your daily decisions. The debate over America's economic direction is just beginning, with experts, politicians, and everyday citizens weighing in on what comes next and how best to move forward. This ruling is not just legal theory. It's about your daily life, your paycheck, and your future. It's about the choices you make and the opportunities that may now open up. The ripple effects are only starting, and as the weeks and months unfold, we'll all be watching to see how this historic decision shapes the American economy and our lives. For American businesses, this ruling is a game changer. Small and medium-sized companies relying on imports will see costs drop, boosting competitiveness and possibly jobs. Many manufacturers depend on global supply chains. Lower input costs mean more competitive American products. Industries once protected by tariffs like steel and aluminum now face global competition and uncertainty. Some may push for new congressionally approved protections. Wall Street cheered the decision. Markets surged, especially in retail, tech, and manufacturing. Investors value predictability, and this ruling clarifies the rules of trade. The business landscape is shifting, with winners and losers on both sides. The next moves will shape America's economic future. The ruling has shaken up political alliances in Washington. Free trade Republicans celebrate a return to limited government, while populist Republicans see the decision as an attack on their movement. The GOP faces an internal struggle over trade and executive power. Democrats are split too. Party leaders praise the ruling, but progressives and labor unions remain wary of free trade's impact on workers. Both parties must now rethink their trade strategies. Internationally, allies welcome a return to predictable U.S. trade policy, while competitors like China recalibrate their approach. The decision opens the door for renewed global engagement and alliance building. America's posture on the world stage is shifting. The political and diplomatic landscape is being redrawn. Experts agree, the ruling is a net positive for the U.S. economy. Economists say removing tariffs acts like a tax cut, boosting growth and easing inflation. Legal scholars call it a landmark for the separation of powers, forcing future presidents to work with Congress on trade. Not everyone is optimistic. Manufacturing advocates warn of renewed foreign competition and urge Congress to protect critical industries. Trade policy experts see a new era ahead. Congress must now build consensus on trade addressing digital commerce, labor, and environmental standards. The unilateral approach is over. Multilateral engagement is back. The U.S. has a chance to lead in writing the rules for 21st century trade that challenge balance openness with protection for American workers. The debate over how to do that is just beginning. The world is watching America's next move. One Supreme Court decision has changed America's economic direction. The Trump tariffs are gone, prices and jobs will shift, and uncertainty remains for some industries. The aftershocks will shape our national identity and economic policy for years. The responsibility for trade now returns to Congress and ultimately to you. Will leaders forge a new consensus that supports both innovation and workers? Your voice and engagement matter more than ever. The world is moving. America must navigate carefully to lead with principle and predictability. The Supreme Court has closed one era and opened another. The future of American trade is up for debate. Together, we must shape what comes next.